Each week, we welcome to our stage one of our highly talented members or special guests with something designed to help you and your business. However, this week, we welcome 4 of our members, each bringing their own tales of how doing the right thing in the world has helped lead to the right results in their businesses. Each demonstrates how the transformation of their respective business models has enabled transformations in far-reaching places while also transforming their customer pipeline at home, with clients buying into their vision as well as buying into them through buying their products and services. To tell briefly their individual stories of making the customer experience into a truly positive and memorable journey to share, we bring to you Adrian Peck, Jarmila Yu, Pippa Dennitts, and Mark Terrell. Good morning.
2 weeks ago, we had Paul Dunn came and presented to us. And on the back of that, a number of people asked to know more about B1G1 and how it works and how people can use it and how they can use it effectively in the business. What I want to do is I'm going to just kick this off really and talk a little bit about my kind of B1G1 journey and how I came across it. So I'm a very giving person. Throughout my kind of life and career, I've done lots of giving type stuff. I've run the London Marathon 3 times for charity. I was part of Round Table for quite a few years, and part of that, as we hence all the Ipswich Town Tops, we had a sponsored match at Portman Road where we took on a team from Norfolk, and we raised about 3.5, 4 grand or something from that day just by charging people to play. I've cycled around the whole of Norfolk and Suffolk over 350 miles over 3 days. I'm also a Mason, so you kind of get the idea that I'm quite a giving person, and it's quite important to my soul, if you like, around that whole giving piece. The bit that I kind of disconnect really was that I didn't really know how to do that with my business. And you kind of think you have to be a Richard Branson or a Bill Gates to make all your millions and then kind of create a foundation and then put your foundation and, and then kind of put your life work into that kind of stuff. And that's kind of where my head was with it all. That's kind of what you had to do. So I had kind of personal giving I was doing, but not really as part of my business. The change was some 4 years ago, I think it was now. About 5 years ago, before that, I met this guy, Daniel Priestley, and 4 years ago, or within a year after that, I went on his Key Person of Influence course, which I also met Jarmila there. I met Selena there, and a few other guys that you've met through the time of here as well. I've done the Key Person of Influence course with Daniel Priestley, and Daniel is really into B1G1. The bit behind it is that Daniel's mentor is Paul Dunn. So that's kind of where the connection comes through. And that's why we're fairly honoured to have Paul that comes here and does and spends his time with us a bit for good, because he is a serious guy that mentors, people like Daniel Priestley. But talking about that, so I went on the Key Person of Influence course. Part of that is really connecting with your purpose, and at the heart of Dent, which is an organisation behind that Daniel Priestley co-owns, is B1G1 as well. They're big advocates of B1G1. So that's really where my eyes were opening up to the fact of I didn't have to have a foundation. I didn't have to be a Bill Gates or a Richard Branson in order to give through my business. There was actually a platform called B1G1. And that really aligned with my purpose. So part of the process with going through the accelerator and the Key Person of Influence course was really to nail down absolutely what my purpose is. And it is quite simply and very much aligned to networking for good, not surprisingly, is we enable ambitious entrepreneurs to build successful businesses, and together we change lives. And that's absolute root and branch. If you cut me in half, that's absolutely what I do every single day. How do I make it work in my business? So I say this is front and center of everything we do in the business. My team that I've got out in the Philippines is we have our own dashboard. So everything we do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis is aligned back to our impacts. So we do some stuff around every ticket that's sold in our support tickets for our digital teams, every discovery call, every new client, every app that we build, every time a task member completes a task, we provide an impact through it. And we've got a dashboard that we run through our systems that constantly monitors all this, adds it all up at the end of the month. We then just make the impacts. So last year we made 26,884 impacts as a business, but more importantly, we leveraged 226,000 impacts through the clients that we work with. So how does that work? UHE is one of the businesses I work with. So they have a very similar dashboard in their business, and I encourage their team. I ran a workshop with them around giving them superpowers and how could they make a difference to the world. And out of that, we created a dashboard. So they have 6 things I've identified in their business. So from them dispatching goods to them submitting quotes to their customers, for every piece of pipe that they deliver, there's an impact that comes off the back of it. We built that, I think that launched about July last year, and it's nearly 54,000 impacts that have now made through each one of those. So every time one of their team member does an important task or completes something, actually it turns into an impact. Another one of our clients is Ideal Furniture. We've created an app for them last year, a digital platform to completely digitize their business last year. So, and part of that impact, and it is non-negotiable as far as we're concerned as well, we do not work with a business if they do not make an impact. And that's part of what we do, and we've turned business around away for not having it as well. That's kind of the remit I have from my team in the Philippines. That's what we do. If companies don't want to make impacts, don't want to sign up to what we do, then actually we don't work with them. But Ideal Furniture is a digital platform that we created last year, and this year it's now gone live with the impacts out of it. So far this month, they've delivered 778 beds, which means there'll be just over nearly 1,700 nights of accommodation we'll provide to homeless children through it as well. So that's kind of how we've turned what we do into impacts as well. So we just to explain how Ideal Furniture works, every time a bed is dispatched and gone to a customer, that creates 2 nights of accommodation to a homeless child. Okay, and then we can obviously monitor that every single. They have within their app, they have an impact screen, and they can see all the impacts they're making and how that's now starting to add up. To give you some idea, they have sold this month so far around I think it's just shy of 1,600 beds. So over the next month, that will then double up in terms of the nights of accommodation that they will give out or give as part of it. One of the things that is kind of a little bit of advice I give to you is that one of the important things is it's not about donations. You will never win. It's not the right one. Donations are just the wrong thing to do, and I'll explain why. Whilst giving donations, and if you turn around and said, last year we gave £2,500 away to charities in donations, people go, oh, that must mean you're making a lot of money. Or if it's Asda, they'll go, oh, that's not very much, is it? It's Asda. They turn over millions. Why are they giving £2,500 away? And you can kind of see that actually it's all about donations. When you turn it around into impacts and said, actually, last year we fed 25,000 people through everybody just buying one of our products. Can you see the difference in the terminology? And it's moving away from donations into impacts. And if you can turn your donations into something that is impactful rather than just about money. The reality is the night's accommodation for a homeless child is about 20 cents. 20 cents is all it is. So every time we sell a bed, it's around 40 cents is the actual cost. But if you turn around and said, well, for every bed, we give around 35 pence, you go, well, is that it? But actually, for every bed that goes out, we provide 2 nights of accommodation to a homeless child. And that's the difference between donation and impact. And it's really, really important. And I urge you to something to move away from that, because it's a whole different spin on the whole on the whole thing. So how do you go about doing it? Step 1 is you've got to have a purpose. If you haven't got a purpose, then doing this becomes really, really hard. So first of all, you must have a purpose. The second step, and the easiest way to actually then find what you want to go and make an impact with, is going to choose a strategic development goal. So there's 17 different strategic development goals on United Nations strategic development goals on their 30-year target. It's by 2030. These are the 17 goals that we need correct in the world to make the world a better place and not self-destruct by 2030. So in there's 17. What I would urge you to do is you choose 2. One's with your heart and one is with your head. So my 2 are around number 8, which is a decent work and economic growth. And the second one is around education. That's my head and my heart. So choose 2 goals. And the step 3 then is about forming habits. Is how do you then form a habit in your business whereby you have that as a kind of automated task almost. This is what happens in our business every single day, every single week, every single month, to turn it from this is what I'd like to do into actually making impacts. So that's kind of it for me. I would now like to invite perhaps Mark first into talking about how Mark has used it in his business.
Yep, delighted to. I thought I'd actually share also about where this fits in with regards to motivation, because obviously it's what I talk a lot about. So I'll share that in a second. But so the way I used it was, I think Pippa a couple of weeks ago said that she joined and then didn't know quite what to do with it. And I was very similar. I joined and thought, well, it's a bit bamboozled, I suppose was the word. Was there were so many options that I just lost. I mean, I used to have this thing with my brother when I was working with him in retail, that he'd have like 20 different tomato sauces, and I said, well, we only need 3, and he said, yeah, but they all sell. But actually, when you got loads of choice, you can't make a decision. So with regard to B1, when I got my head around it, I thought, well, how can I use it? And I then, when I came to my book launch, I thought, well, how can I use it with that? And it's very similar with what you've just described, Adrian, was I thought, well, how can maybe I could feed someone, and that's what I chose to do. Obviously, there's lots of options. So I put in that for every book sold, somebody in the world would be fed or given a meal. And people really picked up on that. A lot of people sent me messages saying, great idea, I've ordered your book, blah, 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 and mentioned the feeding somebody in the world thing. So it just gives that extra bit of dimension that people are wanting to make a difference. So I'm wary there's 2 other people here. So I just thought I'd just flip over to this screen where I can just talk about motivation a bit better. So those of you who've not seen this before, this is the motivational map 9 motivations for work. And the key here is that we need to be able to sort of monitor how we're doing with these. And if something's important to us, we've got to be able to measure where we are actually fulfilling that. So the way that B1, G1 fits into this is that when we come to this one in the top, the bottom right-hand corner, the searcher, which is about making a difference, it's very difficult to measure that, isn't it? So if you think about the one in the middle there is builder, which is about money. So we can sort of measure that, how well we are doing financially. And there's other things like the expert, how we're doing, how we're developing our expertise and all that sort of stuff. But how do we measure the difference we're making that basically the searcher is looking for? So the searcher is one of my top 3. And so it fulfills that for me. And I'm guessing a lot of you here will probably have that searcher motivator in you as well. And it's a way to make you feel that you are actually fulfilling it, because sometimes it's quite difficult to feel it, if that makes sense. So I think rather than repeat what Adrian says, that's basically what I'd say with regards to B1G1, where it fits in with my business.
Can I pick up from there from you, Mark, if that's all right? Because my story is quite similar, but the way I wanted to approach this morning was with something a little bit more practical, because I knew Mark would have motivation covered. I know Adrian, and I'm sure Jarmila's got some fantastic visuals. I don't have any of those, but what I do have is a very kind of simple story. As Mark says, when I first sort of signed up, I didn't know what to do with it. But if I can just share a screen here, I'm just going to show you, there we go, that one. This is my B1G1 screen. And so I log in there and it tells me all these wonderful things I've done, which for me, again, as Mark says, motivation, that's a big motivator. That ties into what have I achieved. But the way I started out was to say, well, what do I want to be known for? What do I care about, and what's meaningful to me? But also, how does that kind of show in my business? How am I going to make my business help me be successful? My starting point was, well, I'm not going to get any work unless I am doing proposals for people. So there's a first off for me. Every time I do a proposal, I want something wonderful to happen in the world. There's a motivator there for me to make sure I'm doing proposals. And so it really is very simple to use the B1G1 website. And you say, well, over here, I'm going to put in, well, I'm going to price for a new piece of work. So you click on that. Sorry, hang on. Now I've pressed the wrong button entirely. Close that one. So I want to price for a new piece of work. And then what you do is you select what's meaningful to you. For me, it's a lot about women. It's a lot about women in business. It's about equality. But also that follows through a little bit to what Adrian was saying earlier about education. How do we change the education system? How do we support the education system so that we can have more equality across the world? So those are my two areas. And so it really is as simple as going and then looking at a list of projects, and they're all there. You can search, they're all organized. It's all very simple to use. Pick a category, education, environment, human rights. It's all very, very simple to use. So if we pick an education one, for example, it filters them down, and then you can see from different countries. And it really is as simple as saying, right, when this happens in my business, I want to make this impact. And so by doing that, by making those connections, you end up with these very simple stories. And then all I do in my business is say, well, I look back through my calendar, which is a bit of a crazy calendar, but everything that I do is color coordinated. I can see if I've got 5 yellow entries in my calendar, that's 5 proposals I've done. Excellent. I log into the website and I change so that, where is it? Learning development, coaching, business one-to-one. Here it is on my second page. When I price for a new piece of work, I give 1 day of business training and microfinance and support to a woman. Add in 5, add it to the giving part. That's the practicality of how easy it is to use. And as Adrian said earlier, the thing that you do is you decide what's important to you, and then what do you want to generate in your business? Well, what behaviors, what activities do you want to generate in your business that are then going to help you get there? And the other thing that I think I would just like to put out there, and it's something I said last week as well, is that nothing's set in stone. You can change it. And what I realized after I've been doing this a couple of months was that I wasn't putting enough time aside for myself, for my own CPD. It's all color-coded, as I say on my calendar. I looked back over the previous month, there was nothing bright pink in there. I knew I hadn't dedicated any time to my development. So what did I do? I made a giving story for it. So I came into B1G1, and here we go, second one there. When we undertake learning or CPD, we give 1 day of training in sustainable farming practices to a farmer in Madagascar. And so I now know it gives me accountability around making sure that those things that I want to be doing are happening in my business, because it makes a difference to somebody else somewhere in the world. So for me, it was all about working out what in my business I needed to make happen, but what did I want it to say about me? And the thing I've found is that when I do a proposal, and I do a video proposal, at the end of that, on the end of my video, it will say that, I'll say that thank you for listening to this proposal. As a result of this proposal and my connections with B1G1, I will gift a day's training microcredit to a woman in Kenya. And I've had people who have come back to me to say, okay, your service is not what we need right now, but can we just have a chat about this B1G1 thing? Because I think that's a really important thing. And ultimately, just having those conversations, they didn't take my service, but it gave me the opportunity to say, okay, what were you looking for that I don't do? And there was the chance to get that feedback that you often don't get when you don't get through on a proposal for a piece of work. Or you can ask for feedback and they say, oh, it's price or whatever. But it's another way of opening the conversation. So that was all I wanted to add. And I'm sure Jarmila has some wonderful pictures and fabulous things to show us.
Over to you, Jarmila. She's gone quiet on us.
I think she's building up suspense.
Apologies, my mouse decided to fail me, so I just had to quickly switch batteries on it. So thank you, everyone. I think those are fabulous examples, and I'm just now trying to think what is left for me to say, because everyone's done a fabulous job at explaining it all. I do have a couple of slides, so if I can screen share, Richard.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Let's go here. Right. If you can see my screen. Yeah. Yeah, we good? Yeah, lovely. Okay, super. So this is me. You all know me because we've built up friendships, great collaborative friendships over the past, oh goodness, is it a couple of years now? Goodness. So this is me. You know our mission because I talk about it every time we meet, and our vision and our values and our purpose. I thought I would share this because in one view, you can see how it's tied together. And this absolutely fuels everything that we do. And setting out your mission, vision, values, and purpose is the most important thing that you can do for your business. Obviously, after sorting out the financial bits that Michael would advise you on, and the business planning that Adrian would advise you on, and all the other things you need to do. But I would say this, I'm a marketeer. But more than that, it will give you focus, it will give you drive, it will give you energy. I am constantly exhausted, but I am constantly exhilarated. We're all on this entrepreneurship journey, but having and understanding your purpose will really, really drive you forward. So this was one of the transformational things that I did, and I talk about helping my clients go from transactional to transformational, that I did when I managed to articulate this. I'm not going to bang on about that anymore. What I wanted to do, because the type of clients I work with and the profile of person I work with, they're right at the top of the tree. They're the ones that, you know, it's lonely at the top. It's the CEOs, the MDs. And I thought, how can I really get to understand them? And how can I be more connected to my own community, the marketing community? So for me, being part of that is really, really important. So here are just some of the accreditations I have, which are also my professional memberships and some of the business memberships that I have. They're not all on here, but there's a few. And there's a split between marketing and business, so that I can be connected and I can really sanity check my mission, vision, values, and purpose alongside those that I'm there to support, the marketeers that I'm trying to help uplift and elevate their marketing and help them grow their careers and do the best marketing they can, and support the CEOs and MDs and really understand what are their true challenges and what do they need the most help with. So for me, I play that back to that, but there needed to be something more. And I came across B1G1, and Adrian's already mentioned that we met on a business accelerator, which is absolutely phenomenal. And even if you don't go on the courses, the books that Daniel Priestley has authored, Key Person of Influence, 24 Assets, Entrepreneur Revolution, how to get an entrepreneurial mindset into your children. You know, they're all fabulous, fabulous reads, and there's lots that you can implement in your businesses just from reading the books. Though, of course, going on the course, you will get absolute extra guides. But being there, I was in an environment with like-minded people, and the topic came up around business for good. And B1G1 was mentioned, and the Sustainable Development Goals were mentioned. And I thought, oh my God, what the heck is all of this? And it did feel quite overwhelming. But when you take a step back and you then look closely, you inspect further your mission, vision, values, and purpose, you can actually see that these things can really help you take your business to a whole other level of thinking, and also develop it in ways that you wouldn't have ever imagined before. Now, there are other frameworks available other than the SDGs. Sustainability consultants, I know, keep reminding me there are others. However, I have aligned to the Sustainable Development Goals. They are a great visual aid, and it's a really good steer, and they're all interconnected. So I find it an easy way to connect with improving the world. The one that I most closely align with, unsurprisingly, is decent work and economic growth, because I'm all about ensuring that marketeers land into the right marketing jobs and they grow their careers there, and that organizations are prosperous because they're deploying the right marketing, they can grow, and that is good for our economies. I love the whole what if you could change lives every day just by what you love doing. These are taken from B1G1 from Paul Dunn. He mentions these all the time. I decided, yeah, do you know what? I'm going to take this seriously, and I'm going to explore this. Yes, it took a bit of time, and yes, I had to get help from my web developer to get the widgets onto my website. I'll confess to that. But those of you that know me, I'm not the most technological of people. But I devised a method to leverage the platform to really connect back to our mission, vision, values, and purpose. And I set this up, I think I joined partway through last year, actually. It wasn't years and years ago, although we've been in business now for 6 years, sixth year this year. And I set myself this pledge. I thought, wow, it's got to be something meaningful. So I'm going to set myself this hashtag 10,000 impacts by 2030. I thought that's audacious. That's a big, hairy goal. I'm going to shoot for that. And I also thought, oh my goodness, that's quite a lot. 10,000. Wow. Oh my goodness. I'm a micro business. I work with a handful of clients at any one time. How am I going to do that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am today sitting at 6,406 impacts. Now, I did a little bit of digging, and I went back over my diaries over the 6 years, and I put in for the discovery calls I've had, the events that I've spoken at, the awards that I've won, the times I've been featured in the media, when referrals became clients, when CEOs attended our boardroom strategy events, when our performance scorecard, a complimentary item, was completed. I went back and I said, right, these are going to be the ways that I can deliver impacts. And each of these connects to our sales process. It's operational. It's what we do every day. We hold discovery calls. People fill in our scorecard. We run events. We win clients, hopefully. We get referrals and they become clients. We get positive recommendations, endorsements, and we speak at events, sharing insights. We're featured in the media, and we're winners of awards. What this has allowed me to do is take my process, my sales process, and it's allowed me to generate impacts. In so doing, it has helped me raise my profile, and it's this virtuous circle that everything's impacting everything. So it's good for my business, but it's good for my clients, because I'm still in business and I'm here to support them, and I know I can create them impact, raising them higher levels of investment, attracting the right personnel that will stay and be loyal with them, and helping them with the all-important lead gen. So every time someone does business with us, something great happens in the world. But that wasn't enough. I still wanted to feel connected at a very community local level. And so I do invest time. I invest time through each of these organisations, mentoring, coaching, some of it is pro bono, sitting on various committees, deploying my skills where I know they can add impact. And if I get to speak, for instance, at the Enterprise Nation Annual Conference, then that's a speaking gig. So that launches an impact through B1G1. So working and supporting these local organisations links back to giving through the platform. But that wasn't enough. I also wanted to have a selected charity, but not to just cut a check, but they still need to raise funds to support the events that they put on. So I chose SATRO. It's a Surrey-based, I'm in Surrey, Surrey-based STEM education charity for the underprivileged children, so that at a local level, we can start to expose the children to STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering and maths, inspire them by putting through their events, putting them in front of people that work in those exciting organizations. Our future is with very much with STEM, and to help them lift themselves out of that poverty circle that they are in. STEM jobs typically are better paid. So when we run a CEO boardroom strategy session, we operate a ticket for good. So it's a £15 donation and it goes directly to SATRO. I waive my fees for that 2-hour session, and those 4 CEOs that come along to the event pay that £15, or they can give other donations. It's optional. They could always give 0 if they really wanted to, but we advise a £15 ticket for good. That links in with the Sustainable Development Goals. It links in with Goal 8, and I leverage B1G1. I have introduced SATRO to B1G1. They are yet to be listed or go through the full process to be also available on the B1G1 platform. But I believe in the power of conversation and connecting people. So who knows, maybe SATRO will be up there soon. I don't know if there's another slide, there might be. Oh, and beyond that, these are some of our pledges that we have made to people, profit and planet. And if you don't know these and you want to talk about them further, because you might want to sort of go down this path as well, all around net zero, being responsible business, then speak to me after class. Happy to talk to you about them all. And through speaking today, yay, I'm going to launch an impact. So I will be doing a giving through the platform later. Back to you, Adrian.
Fantastic, thank you very much. That's very comprehensive.